Let's drift into the magical world of Harry Potter, where our story begins not with a spell, but with a simple idea. Picture, if you will, a delayed train journey in 1990. J.K. Rowling sat on a train travelling from Manchester to London, and in that moment of stillness, a boy with black hair and glasses appeared fully formed in her mind. She didn't have a pen with her, so for the entire 4-hour journey, she simply sat and imagined, letting the character of Harry Potter grow richer with each passing mile. What Rowling didn't know then was that this boy would eventually become something extraordinary. When she finally wrote those early chapters, she chose a very specific birthday for Harry, July 31st, 1980. This wasn't a random choice. July 31st is also Rowling's own birthday, creating a personal connection between author and character that would last throughout the entire series. As the story took shape over the following years, Rowling crafted a world with remarkable attention to detail. The Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry that Harry would attend wasn't just any magical school. She envisioned it with exactly 142 staircases, each with its own personality. Some were wide and sweeping, others narrow and rickety. Some led somewhere different on Fridays, and some had a trick step halfway up that you had to remember to jump over. In creating the school's 4 houses, Rowling gave each one a founder from medieval times. Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. But here's something peaceful to consider. Hufflepuff House, often overlooked, is actually the house that has produced the fewest dark wizards of all. While other houses have their dramatic moments and famous dark wizards, Hufflepuff remains steady and true, valuing loyalty and hard work above all else. The magical education at Hogwarts required very specific supplies, and Rowling thought through every detail. When students received their acceptance letters, they learned they could bring one pet, an owl, a cat, or a toad. This tradition dated back centuries in the wizarding world. Owls served the practical purpose of delivering mail, cats had long been companions to witches and wizards, and toads. Well, toads were simply traditional, even if they'd fallen out of fashion by Harry's time. Poor Neville Longbottom would learn this when his gran sent him his toad, Trevor. The wands that young wizards would use were crafted with great care. Rowling established that the finest wandmaker in Britain was Garrick Ollivander, whose family had been making wands since 382 BC. Every Ollivander wand contained a core made from a powerful magical substance, phoenix feather, unicorn hair, or dragon heartstring. The wand chooses the wizard, Ollivander would tell Harry, and indeed, Harry's wand chose him, containing a phoenix feather from the same phoenix that gave just one other feather, the one in Lord Voldemort's wand. But before Harry even knew he was a wizard, before he knew about wands and Hogwarts and his own fame, he lived in the smallest bedroom at number 4, Privet Drive. The cupboard under the stairs. This wasn't just a cruel detail Rowling added for drama. It was part of a carefully constructed protection. Harry's mother's sacrifice created ancient magic, the strongest magic of all, and it lived in his blood. As long as Harry could call the place where his mother's blood dwelt home, even that cupboard under the stairs, he would be protected from Voldemort. In that cupboard, Harry would sleep, not knowing that he was famous throughout the wizarding world. On the night his parents died, when Voldemort's killing curse rebounded, it left Harry with his lightning bolt scar. This scar wasn't just a mark, it was a connection, a piece of magic that tied Harry to Voldemort in ways that wouldn't be fully understood for many years. The scar would hurt when Voldemort was near or feeling strong emotions, serving as both a warning and a burden. And so our story truly begins, with a boy sleeping in a cupboard, unaware that in just a few short weeks, he would receive a letter that would change everything. A letter delivered by an owl, written in emerald green ink, addressed to Mr. H. Potter, the cupboard under the stairs. The journey to Hogwarts begins at a place that seems impossible to find, platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station. To reach it, young witches and wizards must walk straight through what appears to be a solid barrier between platforms 9 and 10. It's a moment of faith, really, that very first time. But Rowling chose King's Cross Station for a reason close to her heart. Her parents actually met on a train that departed from King's Cross, making it a place of beginnings, of magical meetings, of destiny. When students finally board the Hogwarts Express, they settle in for a journey of several hours. The Scarlet steam engine pulls away at 11 o'clock sharp from platform 9 3/4, and there's something wonderfully specific about the treats available on the trolley that comes through. Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans truly means every flavor. The inventor, Bertie Bott, was trying to create a new sweet when he accidentally grabbed a pair of dirty socks instead of his intended ingredient. Rather than admit his mistake, he marketed them as Every Flavor Beans, and they became a sensation. You might get chocolate or strawberry, but you might also get earwax or grass. It's all part of the adventure. At the end of that train journey, first-year students cross the Black Lake in small boats, 4 to a boat, to catch their first glimpse of Hogwarts Castle with all its towers and turrets reflected in the dark water. This tradition isn't just for show. It follows the path that Hogwarts founders themselves took over 1,000 years ago when they first arrived at the castle site. There's something ancient and intentional about beginning your magical education the same way the greatest witches and wizards of old began theirs. Inside the castle, students gather in the Great Hall for the sorting ceremony. The sorting hat that places them into their houses is over 1,000 years old, and it once belonged to Godric Gryffindor himself. But here's what makes it truly special. Gryffindor and the other founders enchanted it together, each putting their own knowledge into it, so it could continue sorting students long after the founders were gone. The hat literally contains the wisdom and preferences of all 4 founders, allowing it to see into students' minds and understand their true natures. Each house has its own common room, a cozy space where students can relax between classes. The Gryffindor common room is reached through a portrait of the Fat Lady, who requires a password to let students through. But passwords change regularly, and the Fat Lady herself can be quite particular. She once abandoned her portrait entirely after Sirius Black attacked it, leaving Gryffindor students locked out. Portraits in the wizarding world aren't just paintings. They contain the personality and memories of their subjects and can move freely between different portraits throughout the castle. The classes at Hogwarts cover everything a young witch or wizard needs to know, but some subjects are more dangerous than others. Defense against the dark arts, for instance, has been cursed since Voldemort applied for the position and was rejected by Headmaster Dumbledore. From that moment on, no defense against the dark arts teacher has lasted more than 1 school year. Some left under mysterious circumstances, some were exposed as frauds or criminals, and some barely survived the year at all. It's a position that carries its own dark legend. Among the faculty, there are teachers who have dedicated their entire lives to Hogwarts. Professor McGonagall, the stern but fair Transfiguration teacher and head of Gryffindor House, is an animagus, a witch who can transform into an animal at will. Her animal form is a tabby cat with distinctive markings around her eyes that match her square spectacles. It takes years of complex magic and ministry registration to become an animagus, and McGonagall achieved this remarkable feat in her younger years. She often sits in her cat form in the Hogwarts grounds, watching over her students even when they don't realize she's there. The castle itself seems almost alive with magic. The stairs move, portraits talk, and suits of armor occasionally burst into song. But there are exactly 142 methods of entering the castle, though most of them are so secret that even the staff don't know about all of them. Secret passages wind through the walls, some leading to the nearby village of Hogsmeade, others to dead ends or dangerous places. The castle keeps its secrets well, having stood for over 1,000 years, protecting generations of students within its ancient stones. And speaking of protection, the castle grounds are patrolled by the gamekeeper, who lives in a small wooden house at the edge of the Forbidden Forest. This keeper of keys and grounds tends to the magical creatures that live in and around Hogwarts, from hippogriffs to thestrals, ensuring that students remain safe while still having the opportunity to learn about the magical creatures that share their world. It's a role that requires equal parts bravery, compassion, and an extraordinary understanding of magical beasts. The library at Hogwarts is a place of endless wonder, containing tens of thousands of books on every magical subject imaginable. But tucked away in a special section, behind a rope, sits the restricted section. Books so dangerous that students need written permission from a teacher to even approach them. These aren't just advanced texts. Some of these books can scream when opened, others contain curses woven into the very pages. The library as a whole holds over 10,000 volumes, carefully maintained by Madame Pince, who treats each book as if it were a precious living thing, which, in the wizarding world, some of them actually are. In the dungeons below the castle, the potions classroom is cold and unwelcoming, its walls lined with pickled creatures in jars. Potion making is an exact art, requiring precise measurements and perfect timing. One of the most complex potions taught at Hogwarts is the Polyjuice potion, which allows the drinker to transform into another person for a limited time. But here's what makes it so challenging. It takes exactly 1 month to brew, requiring continuous careful preparation. A single mistake in those 30 days, and the entire cauldron becomes useless, or worse, dangerous. The potion includes fluxweed that must be picked at the full moon and lacewing flies that must be stewed for 21 days. Beyond academics, students can participate in the most popular sport in the wizarding world, Quidditch. This aerial game is played on broomsticks, with 7 players per team flying high above a pitch. The game revolves around 4 balls, 1 quaffle, 2 bludgers, and the golden snitch. That tiny, walnut-sized golden snitch is perhaps the most remarkable. It has flesh memories, meaning it remembers the first person who touched it. This becomes important in matters of disputed catches, as the snitch itself can verify who caught it first. The seeker who catches the snitch earns their team 150 points and ends the game, which is why some matches last mere minutes while others can go on for days, even months. The House Cup competition runs throughout the school year, with points awarded and deducted for various achievements and misdemeanors. 4 giant hourglasses stand in the entrance hall, filled with rubies for Gryffindor, sapphires for Ravenclaw, emeralds for Slytherin, and yellow diamonds for Hufflepuff. These aren't just decorative, they magically fill and empty as points are given and taken away, offering a constant, glittering reminder of where each house stands. It's a system that's been in place for centuries, fostering both healthy competition and house pride. For students who misbehave, there are detentions, of course, but also the watchful presence of Argus Filch, the school's caretaker. Filch is a squib, someone born into a wizarding family but without magical powers. This makes his position at Hogwarts both ironic and poignant. He's surrounded by magic he can never perform himself. He patrols the corridors with his cat, Mrs. Norris, who seems to have an uncanny ability to appear wherever students are breaking rules. Filch treasures a battered copy of a book called Quickspell, a correspondence course for magical development, revealing his deepest wish to somehow acquire the magic that was never his. The castle's security also includes a poltergeist named Peeves, though security might not be the right word. Peeves has been causing chaos at Hogwarts for centuries, and is almost impossible to control. He's not a ghost. Ghosts are the transparent spirits of deceased witches and wizards. Peeves is something else entirely, a spirit of chaos and mischief who was never alive in the traditional sense. He throws things, makes noise, and delights in causing mayhem. The only person he's ever shown any respect for is the Bloody Baron, Slytherin's house ghost, and even that respect is grudging. Speaking of ghosts, Hogwarts has one for nearly every occasion. Nearly Headless Nick, Gryffindor's ghost, earned his nickname because his beheading in 1492 wasn't quite complete. Half an inch of skin and sinew kept his head attached to his body. This technicality prevented him from joining the Headless Hunt, a group for properly beheaded ghosts, which remains a sore point for him even 500 years after his death. The ghosts of Hogwarts can pass through walls and objects, but they can neither truly touch the physical world nor feel physical sensations. They exist in a liminal space, choosing to remain at Hogwarts rather than moving on. Deep within the castle, there are rooms that appear only when needed. The Room of Requirement is one such place, manifesting on the 7th floor opposite a tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy. To make it appear, you must walk past the hidden doorway 3 times while concentrating on what you need. The room then transforms into whatever space is required, a bathroom, a hiding place, a practice room. However, it cannot produce food, as food is one of the 5 principal exceptions to Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration. Magic has its limits, and even the most versatile room in Hogwarts must obey certain fundamental magical laws. In the highest tower of the castle, Professor Trelawney teaches divination, the art of predicting the future. Her classroom is warm and perfumed. True seers, those with genuine prophetic ability, are incredibly rare, appearing perhaps once in a generation. Most divination is educated guesswork and interpretation of signs. Yet occasionally, true prophecies emerge, spoken in voices not quite the speaker's own, foretelling events that will shape the entire wizarding world. The village of Hogsmeade lies just beyond the Hogwarts grounds, and it holds a special distinction. It's the only entirely non-magical folk-free village in Britain. Every building, every shop, every resident is connected to the wizarding world. Students from their 3rd year onward can visit on certain weekends, their permission slips carefully checked before they are allowed through the gates. The village has existed for centuries, growing up alongside Hogwarts itself, providing a place where young witches and wizards can experience a taste of the wider magical world while still remaining close to school. One of the most beloved shops in Hogsmeade is Honeyduke's, a sweet shop that seems to contain every confection imaginable. But beyond the shelves of chocolate frogs and sugar quills, there's a trapdoor hidden beneath a loose floorboard. This trapdoor leads to a secret passage that wins its way directly into Hogwarts, emerging behind a statue of a one-eyed witch on the 3rd floor. It's one of 7 secret passages leading in and out of the school, though not all of them are still usable. Some have collapsed or been sealed off over the centuries. In the realm of magical confections, chocolate frogs are particularly special. Each one comes with a collectible card featuring a famous witch or wizard, and the cards themselves have become treasured items among students. But here's what makes the frogs themselves so enchanting. They're not just shaped like frogs, they're enchanted to behave like real frogs. They can only make one good jump before the spell wears off, so you have to be quick when you open the package, or your chocolate treat might leap straight out the window of the Hogwarts Express. The magical world has its own currency, of course, quite different from Muggle money. The system consists of 3 types of coins: galleons, which are gold, sickles, which are silver, and nuts, which are bronze. The exchange rate is precise: 17 sickles to a galleon, and 29 nuts to a sickle. This means there are exactly 493 nuts in a galleon. Gringotts Wizarding Bank, run by goblins, handles all wizarding finances, with vaults buried deep underground, some protected by dragons, others by curses and enchantments that have lasted for generations. Speaking of Gringotts, the goblins who run it are master metalworkers and have their own complex society and culture. Goblin-made objects are special. They absorb only that which strengthens them, which means a goblin-made sword, for instance, would take in properties of substances it encounters, becoming more powerful over time. However, goblins have a very different concept of ownership than wizards do. To a goblin, the true owner of an object is its maker, and when a wizard dies, goblin-made objects should rightfully return to the goblin who forged them. This fundamental disagreement about ownership has led to centuries of tension between goblins and wizards. The Forbidden Forest at the edge of the Hogwarts grounds lives up to its name. Ancient trees grow so thick that sunlight barely penetrates to the forest floor, and within its depths live creatures both wondrous and dangerous. Centaurs make their home there, a proud race who read the future in the stars and planets. They view themselves as equals to wizards, not creatures to be governed by wizard law, and they keep to themselves in the forest depths. The centaurs have been reading the movements of Mars, the planet of war, with growing concern, seeing in the heavens warnings of conflict to come. Also dwelling in the forest are the Acromantulas, giant spiders with near-human intelligence and a taste for human flesh. These creatures are not natural to Britain. They originated in Borneo, but a colony has lived in the Forbidden Forest for decades. They can grow to 15 feet in leg span, and they can speak human language. Despite their intelligence, they remain fundamentally dangerous, viewing anything smaller than themselves as potential prey. The forest echoes with their clicking and rustling at night, a sound that keeps even the bravest students from venturing too deep. Yet perhaps the most misunderstood creatures in the forest are the Thestrals. These skeletal, horse-like beings with leathery wings are invisible to anyone who hasn't witnessed death and truly comprehended what they've seen. They're often associated with bad luck and omens of death, but this reputation is unfair. Thestrals are actually gentle, loyal creatures with an exceptional sense of direction. They never get lost, which is why they pull the Hogwarts carriages and why those who can see them might feel they've gained a strange gift rather than a curse. Back within the castle, The hospital wing is overseen by Madame Pomfrey, whose healing abilities are remarkable. Magic can mend broken bones in moments. A simple spell like Brachium Emendo should repair a broken arm, though if performed incorrectly, it might remove all the bones instead. Skeelgrow, a potion that regrows bones, works effectively but takes 8 hours and is apparently quite painful, causing the bones to grow back slowly over the course of a night. There are some injuries, however, that magic cannot fully heal. Injuries caused by dark curses or dark objects often leave permanent scars, both physical and magical. The castle settling into evening quiet, house fires burning low in their grates, students making their way to their dormitories up staircases that shift gently in the darkness. Tomorrow will bring more lessons, more magic, more discoveries in this ancient school where every stone has a story. The Hogwarts school year follows a rhythm as old as the castle itself, divided into 3 terms with breaks for Christmas and Easter. But the beginning of each year is marked by the welcoming feast, where the tables in the great hall fill with food that simply appears. Roast beef, roast chicken, pork chops, lamb chops, sausages, bacon, steak, joints of beef, Yorkshire pudding, peas, carrots, gravy, ketchup, and peppermint humbugs. This abundance isn't conjured from nothing, as food cannot be created from nothing. Instead, it's prepared by over 100 house elves working in the kitchens directly below the Great Hall, and then magically transported upward to the tables at just the right moment. These house elves have served Hogwarts for generations, and they take immense pride in their work. House elves are bound by ancient magic to serve wizarding families or institutions, and they possess their own unique brand of magic that doesn't require wands. A house elf's magic is powerful enough to apparate, to disappear from one place and appear in another, even within Hogwarts, where such magic is normally impossible. The protections that prevent wizards from apparating inside the castle don't apply to house elves, allowing them to move about freely as they perform their duties. On clear nights, it shows stars scattered across a deep velvet darkness. During storms, lightning flashes across the ceiling and thunder rumbles overhead, though no rain actually falls on the students below. The spell that creates this effect is incredibly advanced transfiguration, and it's mentioned in Hogwarts, a history that the ceiling isn't actually a solid ceiling at all. It's been charmed to look like the night sky. The book itself is quite lengthy, running over 1,000 pages, chronicling every significant event in the school's long history. In the realm of magical education, some subjects are elective, chosen by students in their 3rd year. Ancient runes is one such subject, the study of the runic alphabet used by ancient wizards. Each rune carries not just a letter but a meaning, a small piece of magic encoded in its shape. Students learn to translate runic texts and understand the magical properties that certain combinations of runes can create. It's painstaking work, requiring patience and precision, the kind of magic that unfolds slowly, like a flower opening over the course of days. Another elective is Care of Magical Creatures, where students learn about the beings they share the magical world with. Some creatures, like boat truckles, are peaceful, tiny tree guardians made of bark and twigs, no more than 8 inches tall, with sharp fingers they use to gouge the eyes of anyone threatening their tree. They eat woodlice and fairy eggs, and if you want to take wood from a tree a boat truckle guards, you must offer it a gift of woodlice to distract it. It's a gentle exchange, really. Respect offered for respect received. The study of astronomy is mandatory, conducted at midnight in the tallest tower. Students learn the names of stars and planets, charting their movements across the sky. Mars, Jupiter, Venus, each hold significance in magical divination and spellwork. Astronomy lessons happen late because magic is connected to the cycles of the celestial bodies, and certain spells work better under specific planetary alignments. There's something peaceful about being up in the tower at midnight, the world below asleep, nothing but you and the ancient light of distant stars. For those interested in the future, arithmancy offers another path, the magical properties of numbers. Unlike divination, which often feels vague and interpretive, arithmancy is precise, using complex numerical charts to predict the future or understand a person's character. Each letter corresponds to a number, and by calculating these numbers in various combinations, a witch or wizard can uncover patterns and probabilities. It's magic grounded in mathematics, in the idea that the universe follows patterns that can be calculated and understood. The castle's defense includes more than just its ancient stones and protective spells. Dementors, though not usually stationed at Hogwarts, are among the most terrible creatures in the wizarding world. They're the guards of Azkaban prison, but they feed on human happiness, draining peace and hope from anyone near them. A Dementor's presence causes a person to relive their worst memories, and prolonged exposure can lead to a fate worse than death. The Dementor's kiss, where the creature sucks out a person's soul, leaving them an empty shell. The only defense against them is the Patronus charm, which requires the caster to focus on their happiest memory with such intensity that it takes corporeal form. The Patronus charm produces a guardian made of positive energy, and for some witches and wizards, this guardian takes the form of an animal, their patronus. The form a patronus takes is unique to each person and represents their innermost nature. A patronus can change over a person's lifetime, particularly after experiencing deep love or profound loss. The magic is ancient and powerful, one of the most difficult defensive spells to master, yet also one of the most beautiful. A shining silver creature that embodies hope itself, driving away darkness wherever it appears. The evening growing later now, the castle's many inhabitants settling into sleep, students in their four-poster beds, ghosts drifting through walls, portraits snoring gently in their frames, and the castle itself standing watch as it has for over 1,000 years, keeping safe all those who dwell within its magical embrace. The wizarding world has its own newspaper, delivered each morning by owl post. The Daily Prophet has been in circulation for centuries, its pages filled with moving photographs and articles about everything from Quidditch scores to Ministry of Magic announcements. Unlike Muggle photographs that capture a single frozen moment, wizarding photographs move and repeat the same actions over and over, a tiny loop of time preserved forever. The people in these photographs can move from frame to frame, walk out of their pictures entirely, and even communicate with those looking at them, though they're not truly alive, merely echoes of a moment captured by magical means. You don't need to know someone's address. The owl simply knows. This magic is inherent to the owls themselves, not something wizards cast upon them. A witch or wizard can send a letter to Harry Potter without any other information, and the owl will find Harry, whether he's at Hogwarts, on the Hogwarts Express, or hidden away in a house under protective enchantments. For more immediate communication, wizards can use the Floo network, a system of connected fireplaces that allows for both travel and conversation. To communicate through the Floo, you throw Floo powder into a fire and stick your head into the flames, which don't burn when used this way, and your head appears in the fireplace of the person you're calling. It's rather like a telephone call, except you're kneeling on your hearth with your head in the fire. The network is regulated by the Flue Network Authority, and not all fireplaces are connected. Only those registered with the ministry can be accessed this way. The Ministry of Magic itself is hidden beneath London, accessible through a visitor's entrance disguised as a telephone box. Visitors dial 6-2-4-4-2, which spells MAGIC on a telephone keypad, and descend into the ministry's vast underground complex. The ministry employs hundreds of witches and wizards across various departments: the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes, the Department of International Magical Cooperation, and more. At the center of the main atrium once stood the Fountain of Magical Brethren, depicting a wizard and witch surrounded by a centaur, goblin, and house elf, all gazing adoringly at the humans, a representation that other magical beings found rather insulting. One of the ministry's most important roles is maintaining the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, established in 1692. This law requires all magical communities worldwide to hide from non-magical people, to keep magic secret and separate. The statute came about after centuries of witch hunts and persecution, when wizards and witches decided it would be safer for everyone if they simply disappeared from Muggle awareness. Breaking the statute is a serious offense, and the ministry has an entire department, the Obliviator Headquarters, dedicated to modifying the memories of Muggles who accidentally witness magic. Memory charms are delicate magic, requiring precision and care. The spell Obliviate can erase or modify memories, but if performed incorrectly or too forcefully, it can cause permanent damage, leaving a person confused and unable to form new memories properly. The ministry's trained Obliviators are skilled at removing specific memories while leaving everything else intact, though the ethics of such magic remain complicated. After all, our memories make us who we are. To alter them is to alter the very fabric of a person's identity. For tracking underage magic, the ministry uses the Trace, an enchantment placed on all witches and wizards under the age of 17. The Trace detects when magic is performed near an underage wizard, which is why students aren't allowed to use magic during the summer holidays. However, the Trace has limitations. It can't determine who cast the spell, only that magic was performed in the vicinity of an underage wizard. This means that in a household full of adult wizards, underage students could technically use magic without being caught, since the Trace couldn't distinguish their magic from their parents. The age of 17 is significant in the wizarding world. It marks the transition to adulthood. At 17, a witch or wizard is considered of age, can use magic freely, can apparate without supervision, and can even leave school if they wish, though most complete their final year. There's no graduation ceremony at Hogwarts in the traditional sense. Students simply finish their NEWT examinations, nastily exhausting wizarding tests, and then leave to begin their adult lives in the magical world. Those NEWT examinations determine career prospects, as most magical professions require certain grades in specific subjects. To become an Aura, a dark wizard catcher working for the ministry, you need at least 5 NEWTs with grades of exceeds expectations or higher, including defense against the dark arts, potions, transfiguration, charms, and one other subject. The training program lasts 3 years and includes extensive study of concealment and disguise, stealth and tracking, and advanced combat magic. It's one of the most demanding careers in the wizarding world, reserved for the most skilled and dedicated witches and wizards. As night deepens over Hogwarts, the stars will slowly overhead, marking the passage of time as they have for millennia. Students dream their dreams, some of Quidditch matches yet to come, others of spells they're struggling to master, and the castle holds them all safely, a haven of magic in a world that doesn't even know it exists.